Hi guys, my name's Jake, and today I want to talk a little bit about lifting weights and inflammatory bowel disease. So, to start with, who am I? My name is Jake, and I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis in 2015, and I've been lifting weights since 2018. I love lifting weights. I've got into powerlifting for a bit. I've been trying to grow some muscle, kind of failing at that. I've kind of been the same weight for years now. So recently I've been trying to eat more food, and I'll be honest, I'm struggling to gain weight, but that's where I'm at right now. So let's talk a little bit about flaring and weightlifting. Should you keep lifting weights while you're flaring? I'm going to talk a little bit about my experiences with that. So I've got my notes here on my laptop, and so yeah, about 2 years ago, this was during lockdown, I think, I was flaring. For ulcerative colitis, that involves bleeding like a fair bit, and I lost about 6 kilos of body weight. I think I was hovering around 74 kilos, something like that, and weightlifting helped me feel normal. So I'd go out and I got into snatch grip deadlifts. So for a period of time, I was like feeling quite ill. You know, like I said, there was blood, and I wasn't feeling like myself. So I wanted to do some weightlifting because that's, what makes me happy. So I went out and I started doing snatch grip deadlift. And honestly, that first session that I did the snatch grip deadlift, it just made me feel normal again. Now, I don't know if it hindered the healing process of the flare or helped it at all. I can't attest to that, but I can say, it helped my overall well-being, because I've just felt positive after doing the weightlifting. And I remember describing it like when you do a heavy set for a fair amount of reps, it gives you what I call the man juices start flowing. You feel almost like your testosterone levels have gone up. I felt more juicy. So I should probably talk about the meds I was taking then. I was on mesalazine, and I was on that for a really long time. But I was also taking a steroid, a corticosteroid. So not a muscle anabolic steroid, but it's quite the opposite. But I was taking that as an enema. So I would pop that in at night time, go to sleep, and it sort of helped. It helped me for a little while, and it got me out of that flare. While I was at that weight, I was at about 75 kilos, I was still quite strong. So I decided, I was really into this lift called the hack squat, where you stand in front of the bar and you deadlift it. And I decided I'll do a triple body weight hack squat while I was that weight, because I still retained a fair amount of the strength I had before I started flaring. And yeah, I did it. I did it for 2 reps. So that was great. But a more recent experience, the recent flare I had, this was midway, sort of towards the end of 2022. So quite recent as of recording this video. I had a major flare that put me in the hospital. And this was the one time I was not able to carry on weightlifting whilst I was flaring. So I actually, obviously I was in hospital. I tried to stay as active as I could. I'd walk around the hospital, even though I was walking like an old man. I couldn't walk very fast. And they put me on an intravenous corticosteroid this time, called hydrocortisone. And that ruined my knees. I guess I was retaining fluid in my knees, and I was suddenly unable to do a bodyweight squat. And, for people who know me, I quite like the fact I can just pop a bodyweight squat whenever. I'm quite flexible. So, I'm in a squat position right now. I've got no problems with getting to depth and all that. So that was quite depressing for me, not being able to even just do a squat, because it feels like quite a fundamental thing to my physical abilities, just being able to squat. So I would try, and it would give me this horrible feeling in my knee. But I tried as much as I could. But as soon as I got off of that, within the next day, I was able to do a bodyweight squat again. So, yeah, at this time I was given a biological drug called infliximab, and that was like a miracle drug at the time. I'm still on that now. And yeah, the flare just started to subside from that point on. And while I was still in hospital, they were monitoring me. I decided I was going to go out, and every morning I'd do some lunges on the hospital field. You know, I'd do what I felt like I had energy to do. And within like a couple of days, I was like doing squats next to hospital beds, because now I felt like my energy was returning and I just wanted to do something active. The day I got out of the hospital, that I was healthy enough, I went straight back to weightlifting. I couldn't keep away from it. I went straight back. I did some deadlifts day one. To summarise what I'm talking about, weightlifting has helped me through flares. You know, it helps me feel like a normal functioning person, even though I'm not functioning well at all. You know, when you're flaring, you can feel like your self-worth, and you sort of, it's at an all-time low, and you sort of start to like, almost like hate yourself because of the situation you're in, and the fact that every time you go to the bathroom, you're bleeding. So being able to progress a little bit in some lifting gave me something to look forward to and show me that my body wasn't a complete failure. I've had many flares over the years, and I've always carried on weightlifting throughout the flares. I've always, like, deadlift has got me through the flares, I would say. And it's only the recent one that put me in hospital that I was not able to lift. But I got back to it as soon as I could. Now, would I suggest that you do the same? Well, I'd say it depends. Have you lifted weights before? I would not suggest getting into weights while you're flaring if you've never lifted weights before. Maybe you could pick up something light and explore some movements. Maybe you could try just a barbell and a little bit of deadlift, or a little bit of bench, like with a very light amount of weight, if you're really intrigued by that. But I would actually suggest, if you haven't lifted weights and you're currently flaring, so actually just go for walks. Do some body weight stuff. Like, if you've got the flexibility, do some squats, maybe try do some push-ups, but see what you're capable of and see what your energy levels allow you to do. So if you feel like you've got the energy, then definitely do something. It's better to go for a walk than to just sit down and sort of, you know, sink into self-loathing. I do think exercise does help. I can't say how much it helps during a flare, but I definitely try and do some exercise. But if you've done weightlifting in the past and you're starting to flare now and you're thinking, I want to carry on weightlifting, then do it. You know, carry on weightlifting. Maybe just monitor your fatigue. Like, don't push yourself to like failure on anything. Do not like go into that sort of like fatigue levels. Like, do something that makes you feel good and just leave it there and walk away from lifting weights feeling good, because that does help, you know, help your mental health. I think it helps your well-being during the whole flare situation. So yeah, my perspective is just from an ulcerative colitis point of view, that I would say, like, for people with Crohn's or other forms of IBD, you know, it's probably worth exploring exercising, but just see monitor your levels of fatigue and just do what you feel like you can. Just as a little side thing, you know, I'm not going to get into nutrition or anything, but just make sure you're hydrated. You know, during a flare, I got these hydration salts. So it's just salt, potassium, a little bit of magnesium and calcium. It's just a little powder that you can drop into your water. I was taking that every day just to make sure I was hydrating, because if you've got to go to the bathroom quite frequently, you're probably losing a lot of fluids. Yeah, so that was pretty much everything I wanted to say about weightlifting. And the reason I wanted to make this video was really because when I search it on Google, there's not many people talking about it from the point of view that I'm looking at it, as someone who has lifted weights before a flare and wants to carry on. And you sort of, whenever you get into a flare, you're filled with this self-doubt. You start to question everything, like, should I be eating this? Should I be doing this? What do I do? And you get a bit lost in the confusion. So I sort of wanted to put this video out there, and if there's anyone else in a similar situation to me, I'd love to hear from you and what you did. Did you carry on weightlifting? Were you not able to carry on weightlifting? It'd be really great to hear some other perspectives, and maybe we can learn some things together, because even though I've had a diagnosis of colitis for 7 years, I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm still learning. I'm trying to improve my diet all the time. I'm trying to get the nutrition in. I'm trying to improve my exercising, because you really want to look after your health when you had a situation like this that puts you in the hospital. And the future is uncertain when you've got IBD. So trying to get as healthy as possible right now, I think is the best approach, really. And taking your diet, the nutrition seriously, I think it's going to help in the long run. So yeah, I think that was everything I wanted to talk about. So thanks for watching. And yeah, like I say, if you do have colitis or Crohn's and want to leave a comment and we can talk about weightlifting a little bit, or what you did, I'd love to hear from you, and maybe I could make another video and we could talk about that topic. So thanks a lot.